Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we're going to take a look at expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Commons. So, one of the things that people talk about a lot is, like, the value of the game and how much things have gone up, and I was randomly researching some stuff for a video topic the other day, and I noticed there's a ton of commons that, like, you would never really have expected to be worth a lot more money than arguably they should be, but there's various factors that go into that, like how scarce it is, what set it was in, you know, all of the basic generalities that would come up. For the purposes of this video, though, I'm not going to be counting, like, tournament pack cards or dual terminal preview cards, simply because, like, it's well known that those are worth a ton of money. They're very, very limited. It's, especially with the dual terminal preview cards, those were only released in, like, select arcades almost 10 or 11 years ago, so I wanted to set a realistic sort of expectation for the cards we're going to be looking at today. But there's so many cards that obviously it's not enough time to cover all of them in one video. I wanted to jump into it and at least showcase and talk about some of them, and maybe some of the speculation for why they are that much, and also, who knows, you may even have some of these in your own collection or in bulk at your locals. Like, my local sells bulk, and I found stuff in there, like stuff that's here. So, who knows, you could maybe have some fun looking through bulk for these commons. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. And if you guys do enjoy this content, please hit the like button and subscribe for more. I try to post videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with also uploads on release days for any new product, or at least close to release day. So, the support is really appreciated. Let's jump into it with a couple of modern cards first, just to kind of set the stage. Contact C is a pretty pricey card. I know it's received quite a bit of hype, especially within the current metagame, as an option to counter decks like Prank Kids, Drytron, plenty of other decks that it can really do a decent amount to stop. And I was very surprised because this is from Extreme Force, so it's only a little over 2 years old. And both this version of it as a common and the Mega Pack version are around the same price, between $6 to $7, and I actually saw them get almost as high as $10 not too long ago during the initial hype period. Now, I don't necessarily think this is one that's going to have some kind of long-term viability as a collectible common or something that people chase after, simply because it's most likely going to be reprinted at some point. Typically, we've seen that happen with a lot of the C cards, and I think part of this plays into it just being a decent meta option at the moment. But you may have some of these lying around if you maybe have missed the market watches and hype going on about this card over the past couple weeks, and it is a decent chunk of change. I found some in bulk at my locals, and they usually sell commons for 25 cents, so I picked up a couple of these, and, you know, I'm just going to probably keep them because I do think they're a decent side deck option. I don't know that I buy into the hype for them as much as some other people do, but I understand where it does hurt decks like Prank Kids, as well as Drytron and your other rogue decks that may pop up. But that one is one, and this is another one. These are the two modern ones I wanted to focus on here, briefly, just to kick off the video. Resonance Insect is a common from Duelist Alliance, does not have any other prints, and it is around $3. There's not a large quantity of it either. As someone who's actually playing around with Bee Troopers and some different insect hybrids, I will say I'm not a huge fan of this card simply because it is a level 4, so it doesn't have any direct synergy with some of the best insect cards at the moment. But that banished effect is really neat, especially because you can mill different insects depending on what you want to get engraved, and I can absolutely see where people are going after this from a practicality standpoint. Again, it's not super expensive, and I don't know whether or not this is what... This does feel like a very good candidate to be reprinted in an OTS, so I don't think it's going to hold a lot of long-term value as a common, but I would definitely say, you know, it's worth noting if you have them and be pulling them out, because if the Bee Trooper support continues to be as effective as the first wave of it was, you could really see insects starting to make some kind of a impact on the game. Next one, Dark Magician Girl. So this is the first one on focus. This is a common from Event Pack Speed Duel. I actually don't even know what the Event Pack Speed Duel is. This is the first time I've heard of it. I'm guessing it was one of the things that they gave out at one of the initial events where they were starting to introduce people to Speed Duels. You can look at the prices and see that all of these cards are worth a decent amount of money. Very few of them actually have, like, significant sold listings. But the Dark Magician Girl is around $147 at market price. And randomly, interestingly enough, a lightly played sold for $17. As you get to near mint, though, they seem to drop down to about $60. So I don't know what exactly constituted that. It might have been that it came out, there was very few existing, someone bit the bullet, but I've seen them settle quite a bit. Still, it's $20 at the minimum, and maybe more if near mint, for a common that you may not even know you had, or you most likely don't have, because like I said, it was a pretty scarce thing from what I understand. But Speed Duel in general does feel like one of those sleeper things that are going to have more over time. without a doubt. Poison Draw Frog from Dark Revelation 4. This set is obviously notorious for being incredibly valuable, more than anything else because it wasn't widespread released. It was only available as part of a special edition, but a lot of the cards in it are very, very low in quantities, and you look at see the near mints on him are around $12 plus, and there aren't too many quantities, so I mean you can get a playset here from this fella for about 40 bucks, but you may have a random Poison Draw Frog from childhood if you opened a bunch of these when you were a kid. I don't have much at all in terms of DR4 stuff. Just to point out though, the common from Cybernetic Revolution looks exactly the same with the exception of the set code, and that one is not really worth much of anything, so just something to consider if you're looking through this. Make sure you have the DR4 set code if you're looking for a potential cash-in on some of the commons that you've got. Zombie Warrior from OTS, that's definitely relatively recent. I mean, within the last 5 years. I think this was one that people used to like pull and it was like worth $1 and people tried to trade it, but I think with Ready Fusion getting announced and just scarcity in general, which will be a recurring theme here, the fusions that used to be put in the OTS tournament packs were very short print. You have cards like Mystical Sand, Vermilion Sparrow, there were a bunch for a while, from Astral Packs through the first kind of 5 or 6 OTSs, and Ready Fusion has definitely contributed towards people wanting to chase these down, but overall collectability and the fact that they were like 1 per 100 packs or something like that definitely helps too. So a lot of these old random fusion monsters, definitely something to keep an eye on. Who knows, you might have pulled them from OTSs or, you know, Astral Packs back in the day, and you may still have some. Another one that I thought was really interesting, and this is a Star Pack 2014 Thunder and Dragon. Card only has a couple prints, and it looks like it's around $6 to $7 for a near mint. Pretty good for a common you might find lying around somewhere. I think Thunder and Dragon as a whole just doesn't have a lot of prints in general, so obviously his ultimate rare, which isn't even listed here, has value, but all of his common prints and his Starfoil prints are very low in quantities and also high in value, so it's just a common to keep an eye out for. Spirit Barrier from Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World, which is another set I know is done well from common perspective. This card is about $5 to $6. I have no idea why, other than being Joey's World, and I guess maybe just over time that set being harder and harder to find. This card doesn't see any play in anything as far as I know, and it does have an ultimate rare print, so if it did, I can't see this being the one that's chased down the most, but it is a pretty pricey common. All copies of the card appear to have a decent bit of value, including the Champion Pack 5 common, which sort of makes sense, and the rare is around $4. This may just be something that people remember fondly and collect, but I have no idea why it is more than 25 cents, because it's not a card that ever really saw a ton of significant play, at least not within the past 20 years. Test Tiger common from Raw Yellow Mega Pack, another one I was very surprised by, about $4 to $5. I think I have these laying around somewhere, I'm not entirely sure, but it's certainly pricey for a common that doesn't see a lot of play, especially when you take into consideration the fact that there are other versions of this, including a secret rare, a gold rare, and ultra rare. I believe there's an ulti as well, and they're relatively close in price. I mean, the $3.99 for a common or $4 and change for an ultra, I'm going the ultra every time. Even the secret from Legendary Collection 2, which looks really nice and is probably my favorite outside of the ultimate rare, is another one to keep an eye on. We've got Zoa from the Pharaoh's Tour promos. If you're not familiar with Pharaoh's Tour, it was basically Europe's version of YCS's for a while back in the day. There were a decent amount of promos that would come out, like Stratos, and I think there was a Gold Sarcophagus one as well. But Zoa, I didn't even know had one, and to see that he's about 20 bucks for a random common, it would be cool to have for a collector. Zoa in general only has a couple prints, and I do believe his common, even from Joey's World, is a decent amount of money. So usually Zoa as a whole, because of how old it is, and just, it's honestly, if we're being completely truthful with ourselves, it's a beautiful secret rare with really, really nice art. So it doesn't necessarily shock me that it has some value. But the commons, all of them, including the Joey's World and the Pharaoh's Tour one, are both really cool. Another DR4 card, Herald of Green Light. It's like 18 bucks with very few quantities. You'll see, again, DR4 anytime this pops up on the list. There's just barely any that exist. So I tried to sort of minimize the amount of DR4 cards we were including on here, simply because it is sort of a cop-out, but it is a really cool thing to note if you ever did open these, or if you do find these in bulk. Maybe somebody has them laying around, you found them in an old collection. They're all worth a decent amount. It's just, can you make the sales, which is a whole other thing. Blackwing Breeze, the Zephyr, Legendary Collection 5Ds. This is a $7 common. It's also got a couple of other printings that are around the same. Just interesting to note the difference in price between Ultra and Common is not that significant, but this is another card you may have seen. It doesn't see a ton of play, but it is better, I think, now in formats where we have linking, so Ancient Gear Fortress, probably the most surprising one on here. This is $17 from the Machine Reactor Structure Deck, which really could use a rewave, especially because of Max C, as well being a common. It'd be nice to get another copy of that. I don't think this card is terrible or anything, but I definitely don't think Ancient Gear warrants enough play or discussion or anything for this card to be as much as it is, and so I have to just assume that it's because it's locked behind the Structure Deck, and it doesn't have another print. When they reprinted Ancient Gear Wyvern and some of these other cards, it seems like something just had to sort of move up naturally to fill that slot. And it looks like Ancient Gear Fortress was the one. So, if you have Ancient Gear Fortresses, they are very pricey, and it does seem as though there is a bit of a demand for them. Noble Maneater Bug is one I noticed from Dark Revelation 3. Still kind of hard to find, but nowhere near as hard to find as DR4 in terms of value. $12 a piece for near mints, and no listings that are near mint, except for one. So just some food for thought. They sold, back in May for 12 and change. I don't think this card's going to do anything, but maybe people play it for older formats or something. Cube, it's like a cube draft card. Not terrible. Photon Sanctuary, this card in general has just been hyped over the years. It's a decent card. It gives you 2 free tokens, but does lock you into lights. You can't do anything else. You can XYZ with them. I'm sorry, you can tribute them, you can link with them. There's definitely a lot of cool things you can do. I don't know how much people have actually utilized this outside of decks like Galaxy, but it is a pretty expensive card that I do think would probably benefit from a relatively recent reprint. This was Battle Pack 2 War of the Giants, and then of course it did have the secret rare. But look, I mean, you notice the price even for the secret comparatively to the other ones. They're all right up there. Tribe Infecting Virus common from the Structure Deck Fury of the Deep is about near mint at the cheapest anyway that I have seen is $11. I know this is a GOAT card, I know this is a legacy card that does see some play, but I would also just like to point out that, like, near mint copies from Magician's Force are only, like, 15 of Unlimb. So, like, you're paying a few extra bucks, but you're getting a card from a vintage set that has a foil, no, rewaves or anything like that. The common itself is questionable why it's so much, but it just is, and I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. But Tribe Infecting Virus, despite coming back and not seeing any play, has a significant value to it. Rare Fish, this one I'm actually really surprised to see, but not that much. It is up a lot now. You can get a lot of foreign copies cheaper. I think they were easier to get in the OTSs that were foreign, but, or is this Astral? No, this is OTS 3. But I actually personally picked up a few of these recently for my water deck I'm working on with Sharks. I know a lot of people are playing it. Ready Fusion gives you an instant Bahamut Shark. It's just a really good card, and again, it was short printed, so that's why it has so much value. Don Zalug, certainly for legacy formats from Gold Series Haunted Mine. This set was regarded as terrible for a long time, so it wasn't super hard to find the commons, but now he's about 10 bucks plus. I don't know how frequently you'll find these in bulk anymore, but any copy of Don Zalug, truth be told, does have at least some value to him. The only common that I'm aware of, though, is the Gold Series Haunted Mine, so you're probably going to have to grab that, or you can get the Ultra out of the Speed Duel Trials of the Kingdom set, but that's not what this video is about. Just wanted to showcase that. Great Emperor Penguin, pretty good value. This one is, again, not a long-term candidate to stay high if it does get reprinted, but we know there's Penguin support coming out. This is a Rescue Rabbit for Penguins, and it's just a kind of a cool card in general because it's a penguin. And it can have all sorts of neat interactions, pull stuff out of the deck. It doesn't have a hard once per turn or anything. So if you have these lying around in bulk, this one's a genuine chance you might have some of those, because I found a bunch back when that first came back. Bourne from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure Deck, another card that's like 10 bucks plus. I know we're getting Karibo support. Overall, this card is actually pretty good. I think if this was around back in the day, it would have been insane value, but, time passes and certain cards get, they're just not as useful as they would be had they come out back then. But it's definitely a cute card, and it has just that print as well as an Ultra from the Advent Calendar. Neither one are going to be super accessible, and it's just it's a neat value comp. Toon Dark Magician Girl, just another Pharaoh's Tour one I mentioned. I don't know how many people are going to just have this laying around unless you're in the UK and frequented that stuff back in the day, but it's a common, and it's worth over 40 bucks for near mint. Doom Dozer as a whole, man, common from Gold Series 08. Selling around 8 bucks with hype from, Insects, Battle Wasp, V-Troopers, Digital Bugs, whatever you want to play, whatever variant you want to play. The only common that he has is this. He does have a rare, which seems to be around the same, but I think the Gold Series being a limited edition certainly contributes to that. And finally, Metal Silver Armor is one that I think is worth noting, but it's sort of a lackluster one to end on. It's about 3 to 4 bucks. This card came out in Magician's Force and was seeing play for a bit in the Infernoble combos with Isolde, and might still be, to be honest. But it's, a decent value common if you happen to have it laying around. And there is a Dark Revelation 1 copy of it as well that is a little bit more value in terms of being about 5 bucks. So overall, there's a lot of commons, and I really only touched on like a small handful in comparison, but we're already over 13 minutes, and I just wanted to showcase some of them. So let me know what you guys thought. Do you have any of these? You're gonna like take a look, see if you can find them, maybe in bulk. Are there commons that I missed that you have, that you know are valued, that you think are worth mentioning, talking about, so on and so forth? Love to interact with you guys in the comments and stuff, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here at Loveshack.